If this story touched your heart, I'd love to know. Where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country or city in the comments below. It's amazing how stories like Olivia and Ethan's can connect us across continents. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because tomorrow we continue with another powerful story that might just change the way you see love, loss, and legacy. Until then, thank you for being here. This journey is just beginning, and I'm so glad you're part of it. Dr. Olivia Hart stood frozen in the middle of her apartment kitchen, her hands still trembling from her overnight shift at the children's hospital. She had rushed home, heart pounding with excitement, ready to share the news that would change their lives forever. But Ryan Blake, her fiancé, and the man she had loved for the past 4 years, wasn't smiling. Instead, he was loosening, his designer tie, eyes glued to his phone. On the marble counter between them lay a pregnancy test, 2 pink lines clear as day. Olivia's voice cracked as she spoke. "I'm pregnant, Ryan." He didn't answer at first, just stood there, silent. When he finally looked up, his words weren't filled with joy or even surprise. They were cold. "I'm leaving for San Francisco next month. The company's expanding and the board has approved a full merger." She blinked, trying to process what he'd just said. "Then we'll go together. You and me, this baby, it's our family now." But Ryan shook his head. "I'm marrying Rachel Lynn next month. It's already been arranged." The name hit Olivia like a punch to the chest. Rachel Lynn, daughter of one of Silicon Valley's most powerful venture capitalists. She wasn't just a business partner, she was the deal. "This is about the company?" Olivia asked, her voice trembling. Ryan didn't deny it. "It's business, Olivia. The merger requires stability. Rachel brings that. I can't risk anything, not even this." She stepped forward, tears brimming in her eyes. "Look at me, Ryan. Tell me the last 4 years meant nothing." When he finally met her gaze, there was no remorse, no love, just emptiness. "I'm sorry," he said flatly. "You'll be taken care of. I've arranged financial support. My lawyers will be in touch." And just like that, he picked up his briefcase, walked to the door, and left, without looking back. Olivia stood in silence, the digital beep of the pregnancy test still echoing in her ears. Moments later, her phone buzzed. A news alert lit up. The screen: Blake Innovations announces $1.2 billion merger with Lyntech. CEO Ryan Blake to marry Rachel Lynn in private ceremony. Her knees gave out. She collapsed onto the cold bathroom floor, her hands instinctively cradling her stomach. She was 31 years old, carrying the child of a man who had traded love for a contract. But even in that moment, broken, betrayed, Olivia knew one thing for sure. She would not let this define her. She was still Dr. Olivia Hart, a surgeon, a fighter, a future mother. And she would rise, for herself, for her baby, for everything. That love should have been, but wasn't. 3 weeks had passed since Ryan Blake walked out of her life and took everything with him. Dr. Olivia Hart stood outside the ATM in the freezing Seattle morning, scrubs still on, exhaustion etched into every line of her face. She'd just finished a brutal 14-hour shift in the OR, saving a little boy with a ruptured appendix. She was still riding the adrenaline until her debit card was declined. Again, access denied. The screen blinked for the 3rd time. She tried the joint account, nothing. Personal checking, closed. Savings? Gone. Her chest tightened. The silence of the early morning felt suffocating. She leaned against the cold metal of the machine, clutching her phone, scrolling through one bank notification after another. All accounts closed. Penthouse. Keycard deactivated. He hadn't just left her, he had erased her. "Dr. Hart?" a familiar voice called out. It was Maya Lee, her best friend and fellow ER doc, holding 2 oversized coffees and looking concerned. Olivia barely managed to take the cup offered to her. "He cleaned me out," she whispered. "Even my personal account. He must have had access through some legal loophole. The apartment keys don't work. I have nowhere to go." Maya's eyes narrowed, anger flashing behind her normally calm demeanor. "That's illegal, even for him." Olivia gave a weak shrug. "Tell that to his lawyers, or his new wife." "You're staying with me," Maya said, her tone leaving no room for argument. "I've got a spare room. We'll get your stuff." After your next shift, and I already called my cousin. He's a lawyer, a good one. I can't ask you to... You didn't. I'm offering. You're not doing this alone, Olivia. For the first time since Ryan left, Olivia felt her knees buckle. But this time, not from betrayal, not from fear, from relief. Back at the hospital, Olivia put her pain on hold. Her patients needed her. And right now, being Dr. Hart was the only thing tethering her to reality. During a double emergency that afternoon, she scrubbed in, stomach twisting with both morning sickness and stress. But as she made the first incision, her hands were steady. Her mind was clear. She was still a surgeon, still a fighter. After surgery, Maya found her again, this time holding a thick manila envelope. "Legal docs," she said. "From Blake's team. Looks like hush money, no mention of child support, just a big fat NDA. Olivia looked at the envelope, then at Maya. "I'm not signing away my voice," she said quietly. "He left me for money. I'm not going to silence myself for more of it," Maya nodded. "Good, because I have another idea." That night, as the city lights flickered outside her friend's apartment window, Olivia sat on the guest bed with one hand on her belly and the other on a notepad. She was broke, abandoned, and pregnant. But she wasn't defeated. She had 9 months to become stronger than she had ever been. 9 months to prepare, for motherhood, for a comeback, for a future that didn't include Ryan Blake. And she would do it all, one heartbeat at a time. 3 months into her pregnancy, Dr. Olivia Hart was finally starting to breathe again. Living with Maya had brought a fragile sense of normalcy, shared dinners, midnight tea, and the occasional victory dance in the hallway whenever a surgery went right. But life hadn't exactly calmed down. Olivia was still pulling long shifts at the hospital, still fighting through nausea, and still dodging calls from Ryan's mother, Elizabeth Blake. At first, Olivia ignored every attempt at contact. She figured it was damage control, corporate PR disguised as family concern. But then the gifts started arriving. Educational books, vintage toys, a handwritten note that simply read, "For the grandchild I haven't met, but already love." Still, Olivia kept her guard up. She couldn't afford sentiment. Not when the man who left her was still smiling on magazine covers, holding hands with his billionaire wife, pretending none of it had ever happened. But she wasn't standing still either. One night, Maya slid a letter across the kitchen table. "Open it," she said, grinning. It was from the hospital board, full approval and funding for Olivia's research proposal on minimally invasive pediatric heart surgery. Her name would headline the team. She was leading the charge. "This is real," Olivia whispered, holding the paper like it might vanish. Maya beamed. "While Ryan Blake's playing pretend husband in Silicon Valley, you're out here changing the future of medicine." The next day, Olivia opened a secure file on her laptop, an investment tracker Maya's cousin, their lawyer, had built for her. Olivia had been carefully investing the hush funds Ryan's lawyers sent, even though she never signed a thing. Each dollar was placed strategically, legally, and anonymously. "How close are you now?" Maya asked, glancing over her shoulder. Olivia tapped a few keys, numbers updating on the screen. "If projections hold in another 3 years, I'll own enough shares to matter, maybe even control," Maya whistled. "That'll make headlines." Olivia didn't smile. She was dead serious. He'll never see it coming. One kick from... Her unborn son made her hand fall to her stomach. He kicked again, stronger this time, as if in agreement. A few days later, as Olivia scrubbed in for another emergency surgery, the hospital buzzed with whispers. Ryan Blake and Rachel Lynn were separating, their billion-dollar empire already cracking. Olivia kept her focus. There was a child on the table who needed her more than gossip ever would. But that night, back in Maya's apartment, Olivia sat quietly beside a stack of ultrasound photos and financial reports. The baby was healthy. Her research was gaining attraction, and Ryan, he was falling apart. Publicly, privately, predictably, and she hadn't said a single word yet. As the rain tapped against the window, Olivia made a silent promise to the life growing inside her. Ryan Blake had taken their past, but he would never shape their future. She was done surviving. It was time to start building, something stronger, something lasting. a legacy. By the time Ethan was born, the storm had already begun. Dr. Olivia Hart was 39 weeks pregnant, officially on maternity leave, but unofficially still showing up for emergencies. She couldn't walk away, not when a 6-year-old with a rare cardiac condition needed immediate surgery. As contractions hit between sutures, Olivia powered through, her hands steady even as her body screamed in protest. Vitals stabilizing, the anesthesiologist confirmed. Only then did Olivia step back, her voice calm but urgent. "Close for me, Maya. I think I'm in labor." Hours later, in a quiet hospital room, Ethan James Hart Blake entered the world. Fists clenched, lungs strong, eyes wide like he already understood the fight he'd been born into. "He looks like him," Olivia whispered, brushing her fingers across his dark hair. "No," Maya said firmly. "He looks like you, strong, brilliant, stubborn as hell." There were flowers waiting in the room, a massive bouquet with a simple card. "Congratulations, Elizabeth Blake." Olivia almost threw them out, but instead she placed them by the window. "She may be a Blake," she muttered, "but she's still his grandmother." The weeks that followed were chaos wrapped in love. Maya turned their apartment into a baby haven. The hospital board scheduled Olivia's return. Ethan grew fast, alert, curious, always watching. And quietly, something else was growing too. Olivia's influence. With Elizabeth's quiet support and Maya's cousin handling legal filings, Olivia expanded her investments. She didn't want money, she wanted leverage, and it was working. Her ownership in Blake Innovations had just hit 15%. Then came the twist she never saw coming. One morning, Maya burst into the apartment holding a legal envelope. "Elizabeth transferred her shares," she said breathlessly. "To Ethan, it's done. You two now control 18%. Olivia stared at the papers, stunned. "She gave him everything." "She believes in him," Maya said. "In you, and just..." In time, Rachel Lynn had filed for divorce. Ryan was losing control of his empire. The board was splitting. And now, Olivia held the swing vote. That night, Olivia held Ethan as he fell asleep, his tiny hand wrapped tightly around her finger. Outside, the city pulsed with headlines about crumbling tech empires and high-profile breakups. But in her arms was the only future that mattered. Then her phone rang. It was Helen Lynn, Rachel's mother and a major investor. "I believe we want the same thing," she said coolly. "Ryan out. You and your son protected. Let's talk, Olivia." Didn't answer right away. She looked down at Ethan. His breath was soft, his heartbeat steady. She had once begged Ryan Blake to see her, to see them. He had walked away. Now she had the power to remove him from the empire he chose over their family, not out of revenge, but for Ethan's future. Olivia whispered into the darkness, her voice steady, her promise unshakable. "This time we do it on our terms." The boardroom in Singapore was cold. Sleek glass, chrome accents, and faces Olivia Hart hadn't seen in years. At the far end of the table sat Ryan Blake, visibly thinner, pale, and completely unprepared for what was coming. "Before I cast..." "My vote," Olivia said, calm but firm. "There's something you all deserve to see." She tapped a key on her laptop. A video played on the large screen. Her son, Ethan Hart Blake, seated at his study desk, solving complex engineering problems while chatting with Elizabeth Blake, his late grandmother. "This is Ethan," Olivia said, her voice steady. "Age 3, tested IQ 164. He is my son, and Ryan's." Gasps rippled through the room. Ryan's face drained of color. "I'm voting my shares, and Ethan's in favor of the restructuring proposal," she concluded. "Effective immediately, Ryan Blake is removed as CEO of Blake Innovations." Ryan tried to speak, but Olivia was already packing her laptop. "I have a patient waiting." She flew straight back to Seattle, barely off the runway when her phone buzzed. Elizabeth was gone. Complications had set in during her final treatment. Maya had been there holding her hand. A letter waited in Olivia's office along with a USB drive. Elizabeth had written, "Not for revenge, for Ethan, for the legacy Ryan abandoned. Use this wisely." The drive contained everything: documents showing fraudulent merger terms, backdated marriage certificates, and evidence of insider trading. Proof that Ryan had orchestrated everything long before Olivia even knew she was pregnant, and now the empire he built on lies was crumbling. But Olivia didn't stop to celebrate. She had surgeries to perform, patients to heal, and a son to raise. Ethan's 4th birthday came with court documents. Ryan had filed for visitation. The request was denied. He showed up at the hospital anyway, unannounced, desperate, standing. Beside the fish tank Ethan loved. "I just want to meet him," he said, voice broken. Olivia didn't blink. "You lost that right the day you chose profit over your family." He handed her a letter for Ethan when he was older, and walked away. Later that night, Olivia sealed the letter in a box along with Elizabeth's and her own. "My dearest son," she wrote, "your father built a world of glass and steel. I built you. It was the easiest choice I ever made." Years passed. Ethan grew fast. By age 6, he was accepted into a gifted medical program. At 9, he co-designed a pediatric heart valve now entering clinical trials. The cardiac wing at Henderson Hospital was renamed the Elizabeth Blake Center for Pediatric Innovation. At the dedication ceremony, Ethan stood beside Olivia in a white lab coat, explaining his design to seasoned surgeons. He had Ryan's dimples, but Olivia's fire. Ryan watched from the back, older, smaller, silent. No words were exchanged. None were needed. As the crowd applauded, Olivia turned to her son. "Ready for your first case review, Dr. Hart?" "Ready, Dr. Mom," Ethan grinned. And together they walked into the future, built not on betrayal but on love, resilience, and brilliance that no one saw coming. Some empires fall, but the strongest ones, they rise on heartbeats. If this story stirred something in you, whether it was Olivia's strength, Ethan's brilliance, or the quiet justice that unfolded, we want to hear from you. What part of the journey hit you the hardest? Was it the betrayal, the resilience, the moment? Ethan stood beside his mother in a white coat, ready to change the world. Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Do you believe Ryan deserved a second chance? Or was Olivia right to shut that door for good? Everyone sees stories through a different lens, and your voice matters here. And while you're at it, tell us where you're watching from. It's incredible how stories like this can bring people together from all corners of the world. Your comments aren't just words. They help this community grow, connect, and feel. We read every single one, and don't forget, subscribe and turn on the bell because tomorrow we'll bring you another powerful emotional story that just might take your breath away. Until then, thank you for watching, and thank you for feeling this story with us.